Okay, I will call the Southbury Board of Selectmen regular meeting for February 16th of 2023 to order at 7 p.m. And if we can have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, up next is public comment. If you have a public comment, could you state your name and limit it to 2 minutes? Is there any public comment? Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle Rosen, 160 Lakewood Road, Southbury. Michelle, can you just press the button, make sure that's on?
Is it green now?
Now it's green. Okay. You may recall that I appeared before you back in September, asking that our town be more inclusive in planning events based upon holidays. As a Parks and Rec Commissioner, I have voiced my opinion of this for several years, but have had little result. At last month's meeting, the Parks and Rec meeting, I learned about the planning of the egg hunt. When the dates were provided, I brought up that the dates chosen were not inclusive because they fell during Passover, and reiterated that I felt it was important to re-envision these events to make them more inclusive. An egg hunt is far from inclusive, as not all cultures and traditions search for eggs, and adding items representing other faiths and cultures to search for in an egg hunt is a misguided attempt to placate these requests with what's actually a microaggression towards these communities. Last week, I sent an email to all of you asking for assistance renaming and rebranding this event to honor the diverse makeup of the stakeholders of this town, but did not receive a response from anyone. What's even more disheartening is the fact that the egg hunt was publicized this week after I sent the email, but before this meeting, indicating no intention to discuss the issue further. I'm truly hoping that you can find a way to create new events in Southbury that celebrate the diversity of the residents in the town and the many cultures and traditions represented here. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
May I say something
Is there-
with regard to this lady's
No.
comment?
No. If you have a public comment, you can make a public comment. Please
Yeah.
don't direct it towards,
No, I know that.
you're welcome to make a public comment.
Yeah. I just need to understand what you just said. Did you,
No, you can't talk to her. You have to make,
Carol Winship? I'm trying to get a clarification on what this young lady said.
no, we can't, Carol, we can't do it that way. You have to, if there's a public comment, please address it to the board.
Okay,
That's
and then
all.
you can ask her. My question is, did I hear it said that we need to rename the egg hunt to some other name? Did I understand that correctly?
We don't.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other public comment? Is there any? Roger?
Roger Kennedy, 438 Heritage Village, Southbury. I just want to make a comment about the previous person's concerns. I do support that. I didn't know anything about it, but I do support inclusiveness, equality, whether it's race, religion, ethnicity. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Is there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment?
This will be a hard one, you better write it down. Ditto. I support inclusiveness and diversity, and I agree with Roger that we need to be more sensitive about looking at planning events for all cultures and religions and making sure that those events don't conflict with other public holidays as well.
Could you give your name? Did you give your name?
I'm sorry, Donna Gelati.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move over to the announcements and correspondence which you have. You have your reports. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Seconded by Justin Betty. Any comment on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And it carries. Minutes of February 2nd, 2023, regular meeting. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
John? John will second it. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And it carries. We have no unfinished business. Under the new business, we're going to start talking about the pool survey discussion. Frankly, I'm a little pleased that it doesn't seem so, what was the one selectman said, not so muddy, a little more clarity. We are waiting for updated pricing, so to speak, of what it would be, what numbers there are currently looking at, a clearer idea on the cost. We were supposed to get it today. I don't know if it came in. It was probably, either it did come and it was very late, or it's not here yet. And we will have that estimate. But they're talking like 9%. It's going to be in my report. It's about 9% increase over what they had originally put together. Kind of what we're seeing here is the people are wanting something a little better than good, but not better and not best. So we'll work on that. We will have to do a number of muscle moves here going forward. It's a little premature, but I think either by the next meeting or we may have to have a special meeting, one of which is we'll have to have decide bid waivers to get the specs written. If we're just going to go with the company that's been working on this, we have to waive the bid. And then we'd have to get the bid specs if we're going to go out to bid. But we're going to have to build those expectations, so of what the pool, what we're looking for features. That it will be our wheelhouse to come up with an idea of what we're looking for. So take a look at the survey, and we'll get together and discuss. Anybody else have comments on it?
I was very pleased with how organized and, I wasn't quite sure what to expect when we get this data back, but really it was very comprehensive. I liked seeing kind of just where the data came from, the percentages. I just thought they did a really clear and very easy to just deduce what you needed to see very quickly. So I appreciated the job that they did.
Justin, yeah. You look like your fingers on the dial.
No, I mean, I think the data was very clearly presented. We've got answers to a lot of questions that we had. So I think it was, the results were roughly what I expected. But it's good to, actually hear from everybody. And, it's a good sample size, so.
I think the thing that really stands out to me, and kudos to our citizens, including the people that don't have pools and the people who have condos. Obviously, that's a lot of that would be Heritage Village. That they recognize the need for a community pool and that children need to learn to swim. And Heritage Village has always, the people in Heritage Village have always supported our schools and our children. I've always seen all my life that that's what they they support that. And was pretty clear even in here that the condominium owners supported the town having a pool, majority of them. So that was kind of nice to see that there's no. So is there anything else on the pool for now? John?
Yeah, so this may be a general question. So you seem to indicate that, reading through this data, it seems to say that they're leaning over good, but not all the way to, better. Is there, and I missed it, an executive summary or something that kind of showed how that conclusion came up as far as like that line? Or are we just looking at like the upgrade features and what the versions are of percentage, like between 1 and 4, thinking it was important, versus 5 and 6 neutral? When you sum those together, it seems that is leaning a little bit more towards what might be considered some of the better solutions,
Better than good.
or leaning towards the better solutions when you add them together.
I think that's going to be for us to, we're going to have to look at the updated financial numbers, because we're going to have to balance that against the desire to pay. What, you know, we have to look at the numbers that people are, what they're willing to pay for, and then what the features they're looking for. And if we can fit that together, that's fine. And I'm sure we'll also look to the Board of Finance. You know, if we look at it and we feel that there's something that, you know, as we all say, how much will, you know, Justin's familiar with this term, how much will it move the needle? Is it 50 cents more on the bond to get this better feature, this other feature? That will be a decision we'll make, say, we think that people would be willing to, by what we see in this survey, go to that feature. Now, you get the numbers in and you're like, there's no way we can get to that feature because we're barely gonna make the good on the numbers. That's what we're gonna have to discuss and kind of determine. You see, you understand what I'm saying?
So, right, so that it's kind of like we're making a decision to look at leaning towards good, assuming that, you know, maybe the finances aren't there. But should we be looking at, like, asking the folks that put together the presentation of, you know, what they read these to be as far as how it lays out and what folks are, you know, have asked for, and then what they're saying they would, you know, feel comfortable paying for? I mean, I'm reading it as those groups of items put us a little bit towards the better solutions. And then looking at the average tax increase, you know, comfortability is well over 60% in that better solution also.
Right.
So what I'm curious about is, are we first marching ahead with what people, you know, kind of said they would like to see, plus what they said they would be willing to pay for, and to see what that is before we say we can't afford it?
Well, I think that's the discussion we're gonna have to have here once we've all digested this and really looked at it. I mean, I've met with people, with the survey people, but you really have to sit down by yourself and kind of focus on what it is. Like I said, there's stuff, we certainly are gonna do good. How much better are we going, that the people are asking for, is what we're gonna have to really kind of look at. But that, again, is gonna be determined by the updated numbers from Silver Petrocelli on what you can expect to cost. If we had this and now all of a sudden it's 9% more, and that was just about on inflation, not real hard numbers. They're supposed to get us, probably I'll have it Monday or Tuesday, or we're off Monday, so Tuesday. They'll probably look at it, and then we'll look and see, okay, how far out of that good are we with those features that a lot of people asked for? And is it something that we think is of value? And I think for us, it's gonna be kind of like, okay, if it's X for, we expect a cost of X to build this pool, if it's another $20,000, I don't know the number, let's say it's 20,000, and this could get us a little better feature, how much is that gonna move that needle off of the bonding of the pool? And if it's not a lot of money, we'll make that determined. We'll make the recommendation of what we think the people want, based off of this, and then it's up to the Board of Finance, to make sure the money works, to whatever degree. I mean, we have to be, we have to, you could, it's only $2 and only $2 more and only $10 more. That's one thing. But if it's just, I think that's what we have to look at.
Right. I guess what I'm asking is, looking through this and like looking for an executive summary or something that said that, like, hey, the professionals did the survey, the professionals gave us a bunch of data, and did they then say all this data, when compiled, suggests that the folks are asking for this pool at this cost, so that at least we know what the survey results said.
I think it's in the survey. It's in there if you read it. It's in there.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt,
Yeah.
but to me, that's gonna be the job of the
Yes.
pool task force, to take a look at that data and do pretty much exactly what you said.
Right, but what I'm asking is, instead of the Board of Selectmen or the pool task force to read the data and make a judgment call for it, can we ask the vendor, whose task it is to summarize it without any prejudice, to ask them, what does the data say?
I don't think that the survey company's gonna tell you what to do, or clearly, and they can say, they have said clearly good is what they're willing to pay for, and what they're like. There are strong indicators that say there's some features in the better that they'd like to do, and you can see that in there. And then it's just gonna be up to us from what that feature costs and how important is that feature. I mean, if it was, you know, a $5,000 something that everybody wanted that was better, pretty much, why not? If it's a $150,000 or $200,000 better, especially we need to have the new numbers. You know, it's been a while since they gave us those first numbers. So I think the answer is, it's up to the pool committee and us to determine what we think, you know. I mean, I'm gonna be quite frank with you, there comes a time when the Board of Selectmen has to put their neck out and say, this is what I think or don't think. There are gonna be people who agree with it, there's gonna be people who disagree, and if, by gosh, if you don't go for this feature, I'm not voting for you. But that's what we're here for. And, but I think with the survey being what it is, at the end of the day, I think that we can, you know, and the survey was also designed, or the reason for it is, what would pass in a referendum? What would the people be willing to pay for in a referendum? Best wouldn't have passed. If the best was more than likely going to pass and showed that that's what the people wanted to pay for, and they were willing to go with the best, it would be our responsibility to give the people of this town what they wanted. So we kind of know our marching orders at this point, what they're willing to do. The town should have a pool, 70% say we should have a pool. All demographics and all lifestyles say we should have a pool by 70%. We're gonna have a pool. Now the question is, how many features? 8 lanes is not really, they don't see a need for the 8 lanes. There's always gonna be people who say, I didn't get 8 lanes, we should have had it, I'm not happy with this. You know, someone's gonna be unhappy with whatever decisions we make.
Yeah, I think Justin said it right, that nothing in it was incredibly remarkable, that, you know, there was big support for the good option, there was slightly less support for the better option, and even less support for the best option in terms of like cost, just specifically speaking to cost. I don't think that's surprising to anybody. I personally have complete faith in the pool task force to get this right. There are a couple of things in my mind that, you know, I'm not gonna mention here, but I have in the back of my head 2 specific things that I really want to see in this pool project. And I'm gonna wait to see what the task force comes up with. And when I hear what that is, then I'm gonna grab your ears if it wasn't what I thought it should be and state my case, and we'll go from there.
And you know, the interesting thing is, and I pretty much knew this before we even started the process, because I did some research. But in this survey, 50% of the people have access or have a pool, but there's still support of 70% to build a pool. When the original pool was built, there were no pools in Southbury. That was a true community pool, because I don't think there's any pools back then in the community, and that's why they built it. I kind of question how much a community that had access in this many pools would actually support it. And I was pleased to see that that's the outcome, was that they are supporting it. The biggest thing I think is that everybody recognizes that children need to learn to swim. And that's important to everybody. So, and also that, I think for people to be able, if have grandchildren, bring their grandchildren to, should they live in Heritage Village, that they can take their children to a pool, grandchildren, and, feel comfortable being there. And, so I'm pretty happy with this, pretty happy. All right? Everybody good? Okay. First Selectmen's report. I kind of just read it into the Palatine Pool Survey. The Center for Research and Public Policy, CRPP, presented the results of the 2023 Southbury Community Survey regarding the pool, the future of the town pool at Palatine Park. The full reports of the phone and online survey are posted on the town website for your review. We thank all of our residents who participated. Revised pool quotes, Silver Petroselli is updating the numbers on good, better, and best options for the pool. We should have that information in the next few days, and we'll forward it to you once it is received. And there's a 9% estimated cost increase. Additionally, based on the pool survey results, they are putting together pool packages and pricing based on the features residents felt most important. So we'll have that with us also. On the fiscal office budget, town budget meetings begin next week. The Board of Selectmen are welcome. Of course, the Board of Selectmen are welcome to attend. The public is welcome to attend and listen. All meetings are beginning at 7 p.m. and 2:05. The dates are Tuesday, February 22nd, Wednesday, February 23rd, Monday, February 27th, and then Tuesday, February 28th if we need to. I'm going to ask the board to remember that a lot of our department heads are new. And we may want them to come here, but for some of them, this was the budget that we developed before they got here. So they inherited this budget. So as I developed this, so my ask is if there's a question on the budget, say with the senior center, get a hold of Dan. Dan knows more about it than the senior services director would know at this point. They just got here. We could bring them here, but I don't know what it's going to do. Same thing with the budget for Public Works. We had basically had that developed internally because we didn't, off of what our research, Blake was not really here or not in enough to really make a difference. So it's kind of an odd thing this year about, so I've asked that the board, please, your questions may be better answered quickly with Dan. He can explain it to you. And let us know if you want, the Board of Finance would like a couple of them to come in. And again, we asked the Board of Finance, specifically, what are you looking for from them? What's the question? And maybe we can give you that answer, because if we come here, they may be like, I'd have to ask Dan. So let's see if Dan, has that. Interesting, I see some other towns have already put out their budget, though this budget coming to you is 2.88%. I saw another budget that is 4.2%, but they put $2.6 million of capital out. So we did not cut capital. I did not cut capital, and that was a key part. I want to say this again. It was key for me because when you start kicking your capital out, you're paying 6 to 8% more on these projects down the road. So my feeling is steady as we go. This is a unique time with inflation and reval. Steady as we go, and let's stay the course we've stayed for 40 plus years of staying the course and not kicking our capital down the road. Human resources, although this area has been facing we've been facing a highly competitive job market, and pleased the town is continuing to attract exceptional qualified candidates. With the hiring of our new tax collector, we now have all department head positions fully staffed. That's been a struggle in this economy and what was going on. It's just a reflection of getting people in. But interesting because there are people who are actually researching how a town is run and how stable they are. And we are being known for being a pretty stable municipality to work for. When interviewing, it's always great to hear from the applicants that Southbury has a reputation of a great place to live and work. The police services, in the police department, the Police Service Study Review Task Force, we have been meeting and gathering information to compile. We're just in the beginning, a factual report of the two possible options regarding the future of our police department, whether to continue with the resident trooper program or to become an independent police department. Sergeant Pescio, our resident trooper, received a very touching email praising Officer Hoffman's handling of a traffic stop. I put this out to the board, but I think this needs to be made public. I've redacted the lady's name, but to the sergeant, my name is, and I feel impressed to inform you that on January 28th, around 8 p.m., Officer Hoffman stopped my mother, Barbara Newman, in Southbury on her way to work. On the heels of Mr. Tyree Nichols in Tennessee brutal killing, saying the atmosphere is tense is an understatement. As Officer Hoffman is walking to her car, my mom calls me and I can hear the nervousness in her voice. Officer Hoffman spoke very kindly, very respectfully, very respectful, and it's my firm belief that his pleasantness should be commended. He gave her a warning about her registration that needed to be renewed. My mom and I both prayed for him before she drove off. We prayed for God's love and protection to be around him always. My Jamaican mother was very touched by her encounter with Officer Hoffman, and we are both convinced that there are many, many conscientious officers out there. It's not so much the color of their skin, I lost it. It's really the condition of their heart. In a society that appears devoid of kindness and compassion, I felt compelled to publicize this act. Much blessings, fighting back tears. This Board of Selectmen can be very proud of how we built this from the ground up in 2015, methodically, with community-oriented police is our focus. The good thing about this now is they are feeding off of each other on how to be good officers. And we constantly get these reports. I'm constantly, that's the bright side of my job, is hearing these reports. And again, to our police department, thank you for your community, the way you act with our community and with our diverse community. They do this with everybody, and it's wonderful to watch. Some have left us, yes, and hopefully that carries on to the departments they're moving to. And we are getting, evidently, a reputation as a good place to work. I know the young man from New York, from Brooklyn, is telling all his friends down there, yeah, you got to get out of the city and come here. Senior Services Center, the RSVP deadline for March 1st. Senior Center reception to meet our new director, Andrea Bouchard-Corcoran, is next Wednesday, February 22nd. Please call the Senior Center and let them know you're coming if you would. My understanding, the Snow and Ice Festival was a huge success. I'm sorry I missed that. Estimated 500 people participated. Please take the time to look through the photos on Facebook so you can see for yourself the fun that people of all ages had here and the incredible job done by our volunteers. I thank the dedicated volunteers and partners who made this event so special. I guess the ice didn't thaw out, huh? It was cold. It was Restaurant Week, again, I wasn't here. Restaurant Week concluded this past Saturday. Restaurants reported a significant uptick in business, and 200 receipts were presented by the diners for the drawing held earlier today. We are fortunate to have an abundance and assortment of outstanding restaurants in town, and I hope you were able to get out and sample some of those options. I just also want to say with that, remember back during COVID, this community really supported our restaurants, both in takeout and my wife tipping. I think it's cheaper now. But this community has always treated our restaurants very well, and I think that's great because we do care about all our businesses out there. On the next event, the last 350th celebration event scheduled for February is a history talk at the library on February 24th called Were There Slaves in Southbury, which I think, this touches on a topic that we all want, maybe don't want to think there was. So it'll be interesting to hear what they have. New business in Southbury, Gyre 9 is having, they make the electric for the cars. They're having their open house and grand opening ribbon cutting on March 6th, if you could mark that down. And I guess since my last report, 7 additional businesses are in the application and permitting process. So that's my report. Any questions? All right. Justin, you have anything?
Yeah, all of my groups have met in the last week or so. EDC met last night. There was some wrap-up on the the Winter Festival. Our son had a basketball game, so I wasn't there much for the festival, but I did help set up and clean up. And I have to say that, Kevin Bielmeyer was there all day. It was very cold, particularly in the morning. And he really did yeoman's work making it all happen. And it was, from what I saw, it went very well. So very much worth doing. His report included, some of the detail about Gyre 9. Michael's had their ribbon cutting this past Saturday. A couple of us were there. There was a line of maybe 20 or 30 people waiting for the store to open that morning. And Kevin has told us that prior to the ribbon cutting, they've been open for a couple weeks. They had a soft open. They were the #1 producing store during that time when they first opened. And also over the holiday season, Ulta was the #5 store in the country. So people that come to town are doing very well, which is great to see. So.
I thought my wife was going to break into to Michael's. I was like,
I already had him frame something. I love that store. I've been down to Danbury quite a bit. But the other thing that they're working on, Ann and Kelly and Kim would like to come and present to us next time if possible, or sometime soon, whatever works, in regards to some of the things that the Art and Culture Committee is working on right now. They've got some, good stuff going, and highlighting a lot of local artisans.
can you have them shoot me an email
Yeah,
so
I'll
I
have
can
Ann
get an
reach out to you.
outline? And if they have information they want, so I get it for Betsy to have as early as possible to fit in, if it's a presentation or
Yep.
discussion, we can, a little colorful up on that board is good.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be nice.
IPOC met. This was the meeting where we discussed the asset allocation in our reserve portfolio, and I'll just touch on that quickly. The reserve portfolio is our excess money that is very conservatively invested into mostly bonds. But this discussion focused on the 10% that is in equities and whether or not that should be reduced because of some of the up and down that's going on in the marketplace. And it was a good discussion. Everybody had an opinion on that. But I think I know that the group came to the idea that based on the fact that our equity exposure is within our reserve amount, we could lose 100% of it and still not touch the original corpus. So they felt that it was responsible to leave it at that level. Nobody thinks it's gonna go to zero anyway. But that's how well that has done over the last 5 to 7 years is, we've made a couple $1 million that have now serve as a buffer, so that we can keep doing what we're doing with basically no risk. So, great to hear. Great to hear.
Yeah, that IPOC group is incredible. We're so
Yeah, and we
fortunate.
still, we still have the same guy from when we first hired him, Chris, who's fantastic. So it's and looking at the other two funds, pension and Southbury Gift Fund at the library, the library fund is now over $2.5 million. It was up another 6.7% last quarter. And our pension fund was also up 7.7 last quarter and another 6% in January. Now, keep in mind, there were some losses last year, but it's nice to see everything building back, and, we're really well diversified and positioned, and I think our pension is about 82% funded at the moment, somewhere in
Yeah,
there.
it depends on the day. and-
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
hour.
Yeah,
And of course, we just put 2 more people on it, but, the long and short of it is we're doing phenomenally well. And these reports are available if anyone here or any of our residents want to see them.
I think the thing to understand is that, for those who might not, or might be listening out in the public, the taxpayers' money that's in there is not at risk.
Right.
Even if it
Exactly right.
tanks to zero on that, the taxpayers' money never is, they have built this up. We're beating the benchmark. We're ahead of everything else. And what I heard was something like, we're gonna stay the course,
Yeah,
which, because of the investments and in our pension funds, we took a correct actuarial rate of return. We pumped money into the pension fund to make it where we need it to be. We were essentially in the market on the lift. So now we're still in the market ahead of what we would have expected. Had we not done that correctly and not put the money in, we wouldn't have the funding of our pensions that we do. And that also makes us attractive if a police officer says, oh, what's, are there pensions? They'll be paid.
Anybody that looks at these numbers that knows anything about the markets will be impressed with them. And yeah, we reduced our rate of return assumption to 6.5%.
Yeah.
About a year ago, maybe a little more. It's one of the lowest assumptions around, and what that means is we're assuming we've funded less of our, we're not puffing up anything. We're on the other side of it. We're being conservative about how well we're doing. So, all in all, fantastic news. So that was that quarterly meeting for that group. Strategic plan met as well. There's a couple things going on there. I think there's a little confusion on that panel about what they should be doing. And I think my suggestion to this group is that we might put them on the agenda at some point in the future and talk about what we would like to see them do. Because if you look at their original charge, it was to help find out if we should combine planning and zoning. It was, what should we do about affordable housing? I mean, a lot of these things are already done. So I think we should find some more things for them to do because it's a very capable group. And I think there's certainly things we could have them look at. I mean, I previously mentioned having them look at helping us figure out how to keep our rivers and beaches clean. I mean, we've talked about it here a couple times, but I mean, that's looking at what everybody else is doing is a heavy lift. Let them do it. But that's the kind of idea I think we might try to bring to the table and put them to work.
Okay.
The other thing they've been talking about is the same section of the charter that deals with the strategic plan, which, but prior to us putting it together, we didn't have one, is it talks about the town having an annual report. To me, we have all the annual report information. It's just not collated into one thing that says annual report. Maybe it's as simple as doing that, or maybe we have them look at doing it for us.
Yeah, I think the annual report, and I am working on something else, but the annual report, number one, is our audit.
Again, we have it all. It's basically a combination of our audit. John Michael's annual budget presentation. I mean, all these things have all that info in it. It's just not a single PDF. I mean, I don't want us to start printing books.
Well, yeah. I mean, financially, I mean, I think that's the state of our roads. Yeah, everything is pretty good.
Everything's there. It's just a little bit scattered, but
It takes a
Anyway.
lot to put it together.
I think it would the first time, Jeff, but I think updating it wouldn't.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, something to think about. And that's all I got.
Okay. Selectman Bucksbaum is not here tonight. John?
So my three commissions and/or task force have not met since we've been together last. So Parks and Rec is tonight, and next week are the other two. So I'll have a report next time.
Greg?
So Senior Services Commission met in the last 2 weeks, and it was the first chance for the commission to have the new director with the group. So on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I welcomed her, and it was basically a brief meeting. They're focusing on trying to put together their strategic plan, so they presented the infrastructure part of their plan, which is it's a pretty sizable list of some things that I think are practical, and some are definitely wish list items, and it'll be interesting to see how they develop that plan and how that gets received by the new director, and see how it goes. But they continue to work on that. That was the bulk of the meeting. That's all I got for this meeting.
Okay. Nothing from the Energy Task Force?
No, they meet next week.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Holly?
Region 15 had a meeting on February 13th. Primary focus is that we had some winners. Some of the kids were there that had been involved in some competitions that they done well. So it's always great to see like when the kids show up and they're recognized for their efforts. But some primary focuses, Dr. Chapetta presented on curriculum updates in language arts and math. Superintendent Smith gave his update, and they set the graduation date for June 17th. So mark your calendars. It's going to be a busy weekend around town. Lots of things going on, yard signs, all that stuff. So June 17th is going to be a key date here in the region. And then they went into executive session for contract negotiations. So
Do you have an idea when, do we have a date on the release of their budget?
I can find out for you. I'll get back to you.
I forget when that was, but we'll get that. Because I know I've been approached, some people from Heritage Village about getting a presentation to the village, people in the village, and a group together to present to them what this is about and what they're trying to do. And I said, I'm sure we'll be more than happy to come over and give that presentation as soon as we can get, till we get the school budget. It's a little early for us to have that.
It's a big part.
But we certainly, we've always done it. I think maybe we haven't because of COVID the last couple of years, but certainly we'll do it this year, and we'll get over there and get it all explained, any questions. Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So, seconded.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It carries. Thank you.